Kiva Brent started her interior design YouTube channel 2 years ago, and she now has nearly 250,000 YouTube subscribers. And in this interview, Kiva talks about how she went from studying biochemistry to now being one of YouTube's most popular interior design YouTubers. Another thing that we talk about, and something that I'm truly excited about and feel so honored to be a part of Kiva's journey, is that she is one of my bootcamp students as well as my one-on-one YouTube coaching clients. And we've talked a lot about how the bootcamp and the coaching has helped her achieve this success on YouTube, as well as give her the confidence to continue on with YouTube and ditch her original plans of going to medical school. My name is Erika Vieira. I'm a YouTube strategist and coach, having helped hundreds of women like Kiva behind the scenes grow their YouTube channels. And if the bootcamp or coaching sounds of interest to you, make sure you head on over to erikavieira.net/coaching. And on this channel, I interview successful YouTube creators such as Kiva, where we together pull back the curtain to reveal what it's really like to be successful on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the amazing interviews I have coming your way. Mwah. Well, hello, Kiva. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Erika. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, the honor is all mine. You know I'm such a fan of yours, so it's so excited to have you on the show and to just dive deep into your success and your experience here on YouTube. So before jumping into everything, why don't we get started with sharing what inspired you to start your YouTube channel, and when was that exactly?
Yeah, so I think I've always wanted to start a YouTube channel. I was just one of those people. I've had like probably about 5 or 6 YouTube channels, but this particular channel I actually started during the beginning of the pandemic because I was still in college. I was stuck at home and I was kind of bored and I was tired of staring at really boring 4 walls. So I started designing and then I just decided to record it for YouTube.
Amazing. And then you enrolled in my bootcamp, and then you signed up for one-on-one coaching. So where were you at in your YouTube journey when you made that decision, and why did you decide to move forward with that?
Yeah, so I think I had around like 25,000 subscribers, and I'd seen a lot of growth, you know, because your first 1,000 subscribers on YouTube is huge. So I really felt like I was doing the thing, and I was like, I really want to make this a career, right? Because I had just graduated from college. I was supposed to do one thing, and I was like, well, what if this could be the thing? And I was like, if anyone's going to help me, it's Erika, because I'd seen Shay Whitney talk about you a million times, and there was an opening at the right time, and I was like, right now is the time.
So for you, it was more about the fact that you saw a viable career with YouTube.
Yeah, definitely. It's not that I didn't want to do what I was doing before, but I have such a fun time creating, and I wanted to share that with people. And again, my content's about being like affordable. So there were so many good things happening. I was like, I think now's the time to try.
And before enrolling in the bootcamp, where were you at with your channel specifically?
Yeah, so my channel was growing. I was posting probably 3 times a week, right, because everyone was stuck at home. But I had no clear direction. I was predominantly doing DIYs. I kind of wanted to pivot, and I wasn't sure how to do that. So that's why I reached out to you for help.
And how are you feeling about your channel at that time?
So I was feeling excited about it. I wasn't sure it could be a long-term thing, just because no one ever thinks their YouTube is going to be like their end-all be-all career. So I was excited about it, but I was a little bit cautious. And
share with everybody what you went to school for and what your actual career track was, if you're going to go with your education.
Yes. So my degree is actually in biochemistry. I was supposed to be going to med school, so I was studying for the MCAT at the exact same time I started my YouTube channel. I was actually interviewing for like healthcare consulting jobs because I wasn't going to go straight to med school, and I was like, wow, I really don't want to do this. And actually, the first time I had like a viral YouTube video for me was the day I was interviewing for a job that I really didn't want, but it was kind of what I was going to end up doing. So it's kind of funny how that happened.
And so so you kind of mentioned it, but why did you then go from biochemistry, something, very different than interior design? What made you go down that path?
I think it was something I was always interested in. I grew up with my grandmother who's an artist, and a lot of art is being creative. So that's what I was exposed to time and time and time again. But it's not necessarily a linear career path, right? I just wanted to make money and do kind of what everyone does. But when I saw the opportunity was there, when there was kind of an opening in the niche, I was just like, okay, I'm going to dip my toes in it and see kind of what happens. So it's what I always wanted to do, but I was never going to pursue because I was just too timid.
So did you ever actually work in the field of biochemistry?
No, because I started YouTube right as I graduated college.
Did you think that the biochemistry was like a plan B if the YouTube didn't work out, or where was your head around that?
For sure. I was definitely going straight to do some consulting and then right to med school if YouTube didn't work out.
Oh, wow. So at what point did you make the decision, I'm not going to go to med school, like I'm not going to pursue this career?
Yeah, Erika, I hate to break it to you. Probably like 6 months ago, I think I'd already grown my YouTube channel.
Oh, wow.
I what I was doing full time, but I hadn't definitively said, okay, Kiva, that's not what you're going to do now.
Oh, I didn't know that. I was thinking because 6 months ago, you were already at over 100-something thousand subscribers. So you were successful in YouTube. Why did you hold out for so long in making that final decision?
I think I wanted to kind of come up with a clear path on YouTube. I wanted to make videos that, did well, but I was comfortable with filming, which is something I'm sure we'll talk about later. But I wanted to feel really confident in the content I was producing and see the longevity there before being like, okay, I'm going to abandon the thing that I was planning to do for 20 years of my life.
That is hard. I mean, for you thinking, forever, this is what I'm going to do, and going to, go to school for it, and everything that goes along with it, your time, your passion, and then to make a complete 180 and be like, all right, I'm doing YouTube.
Yes.
That's crazy. And was there anything like emotional that what you went through with that decision?
Yeah, definitely. I felt very guilty. So part of my background, like I grew up with my grandmother. I'm the first person to really finish college and do all those things. So I really felt like I want to be the one who like really provides for the family and really steps up and turns things around. And, YouTube's an amazing career. And I didn't know as much about it, right? Because I was like, oh, maybe I'm not living up to my potential. Maybe I'm disappointing them. So I was definitely very, very nervous. But now my family loves YouTube and they're so happy that I did this because they can see that I'm happy. But yeah, it was definitely a difficult decision for me.
Were they supportive of that decision?
Yeah, I think they were supportive of it once they grew to understand it more.
I think that's the case for a lot of people.
I agree.
So when you first, in going back to the bootcamp in coaching, how were you feeling about yourself and your channel as you were going through the program?
So as I was going through the program, I started to feel more and more confident because I think YouTube is such an overwhelming platform. And you're like, okay, I'm editing, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But there's so many little things that you kind of introduced me to that really kind of changed everything. Like making a good thumbnail, having title flares, things like that I never really thought about as being important. They're so crucial to success on YouTube. So it really built my confidence. Oh,
that's awesome. Did you feel that prior to that or doing the coaching that you had a sense of insecurity? And in what way, when you say confidence, because there's so many different angles of YouTube, in what way were you not feeling confident?
So yeah, I had no plan before. I was definitely nervous every time I uploaded. Are people going to like this? Like, are they going to know it's me? And I think I grew my confidence in that I knew how to like brand myself. So like all of my thumbnails look pretty consistent. I kind of bring a certain personality to things. So I'm always dressed a certain way. I always look consistent. I like kind of established some consistency and credibility. And I learned that through the boot camp that otherwise I wouldn't do. Because before I would make videos on one thing and another thing. I wasn't really paying attention to my niche. So there wasn't confidence there because sometimes I make a video and it would be amazing and other times it would kind of flop and I didn't really always understand why.
That's interesting too, the understanding of why. So did you feel that understanding why something took off or didn't, is that something that you learned through the bootcamp or the coaching?
Yeah, definitely. Being able to like look at those analytics, actually read the comments and get something valuable from them instead of just being like, oh, thank you so much. I definitely learned that. And it definitely, motivated me to keep going because I was like, okay, if I keep doing these things, if I have the consistency there, I can keep growing instead of being like, I never know if my content's going to be successful. Yeah.
What was the biggest breakthrough that you had when going through the bootcamp and the coaching?
I think it was just kind of like, if I have the confidence, then like the people will come. I think that's something that you and I worked on a lot. I was like, oh, I can't do this or people aren't going to like what I'm doing. And you're like, just do it, just do it and don't be such a perfectionist.
Yes.
And then you will be able to be successful. So I think kind of being able to relax and not take everything so personally and just do things that I love, being motivated to do that has really kind of transformed my YouTube channel and also my life in general.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that, like the perfectionist thing, because I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, and a lot of creators struggle with, because there's this idea that I want to create really good content, I want to be perfect, but then as a result, you don't end up uploading, or you have a bunch of videos that you have yet to edit or even upload. How were you able to overcome a little bit of that perfectionist through the coaching and the boot camp?
Well, I think something we talk about all the time is that, like, if people are critiquing you, if you have like haters, that means you're doing something right. So I think actually like mulling on that and being like, okay, like if people are saying bad things, that's okay. And also being like, if I feel confident in it, again, if I like what I'm doing, that's really all that matters. I'm kind of inviting people into my home, especially when I'm making videos about my personal stuff. But also I think I create content where I'm like, I'm open to your opinions. My opinion isn't the end all be all, even though I consider myself to be, an authority on something, but I'm open-minded and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think just from the first time of our first meeting to now, I mean, your confidence and that perfectionism, I think it's always going to be there a little bit, always. It's part of, I think, who you are. And for a lot of people that are perfectionists, it's a really wonderful quality in some ways, but in other ways it can be detrimental. And I think it's kind of learning how to manage that in a way and to use it for good, but also don't let it overtake you. But I've seen you improve tremendously. So
thank you. I also wanted to note that we talk about this all the time. One of my most successful videos on YouTube is a video that I didn't want to upload, right? Because I didn't like the editing, I didn't like the audio, and it's actually like gone viral as of late. And I was like, if we had taken that down, I don't know what would have happened there. So I think that really attests to that. Yeah,
and you were so close to taking it down. I said, do not take it down. You're like,
so close.
Erika, this video is just like, it just wasn't to the quality I wanted. It's not doing well. It didn't do that great at the beginning. And I said,
not at all.
And I was like, no, but I know this is a topic that we talked about. And it was one that I knew it was evergreen. It had a lot of potential. And when I watched it, so for those of you watching, just to kind of take you back to that, Kiva had messaged me and was like, okay, that video we talked about, I uploaded it and I hadn't watched it yet. And she's like, and you're like, oh, check it out, please. And let me know. I just think it's absolutely terrible. It's terrible. I forget what it was. You're going something, I forget why, but you're like, I didn't have my lighting or my camera.
Yes.
Do you remember what the reason was?
Yeah. The audio was messed up. My dog had like knocked over something. He broke part of my audio and it was bad, but people watched it. So. Yeah,
that was it. You said the quality's just not there. And then I watched it. It was already uploaded. I watched it and I was like, dude, it's not that bad, Kiva. Like, it's in your head. Like, it's still a really good video. The information that you're giving is really spot on. And I'm like, do not take it down. Keep it up. And I'm glad you listened to me, because that video is like one of your highest views. How many views does that one have? Let me look at your channel.
Over 400,000 at this point.
Yeah, and it was interesting. It was one of those videos that, and this happens a lot on YouTube, is that it doesn't necessarily do well immediately, but it has that evergreen potential, and it eventually, all of a sudden, it started to go viral, and I was like, see, it's your third highest viewed video at 641,000 views.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See, there you go.
And you uploaded it 9 months ago. And it's still one of, I know, because I know your analytics and I have your analytics. It's still one of your top, like, 3 or 4, highest views, in the last 48 hours. So that goes to show you that sometimes, when you think it's not perfect, that other people will still find value in it.
100%.
Yeah. So that I remember that. So what has it been like getting the one-on-one coaching with me?
I think it's amazing, because I think I can have someone to kind of check behind me and be like, okay, Kiva, this looks good. Maybe this is translating, right? Because I create content within a niche, right? And I might know some terminology that other people don't know. So it's about making my content as widely available as possible, so that we can always bring in new subscribers and introduce new people to my content. So I love that you help me with that.
Yeah. And what has helped you the most with getting the YouTube coaching?
So I think, again, it goes back to the confidence thing, but in terms of something technical, I think it's those titles, because a title is everything. Conveying your message, being very succinct, I think that helps a ton. Yeah, definitely. Take someone through, what it's like to get, first off, going through the coaching and then getting that one-on-one attention. Yeah, so I think the bulk of the one-on-one attention that I think I benefit most from is definitely like our monthly meetings, because I think we get to sit down, I get to talk about my video ideas, your video ideas, kind of go through the things that I've done well and the things that I haven't necessarily done well, and kind of improve upon them. And then throughout the month, we get to check in and be like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? How can we tweak these things? I think I also really benefit from us, you know, kind of trying new things. Again, the bulk of my YouTube videos now are me sitting down, kind of providing advice. That's one of the things you said to me, I think, in our very first session. And if you hadn't said it, I think I would predominantly be doing DIY content and content that I think is just not as interesting to people. So I think if I didn't have someone to bounce those ideas off of, I'm not sure that my channel would have grown.
Yeah, you know, it's YouTube is a lot of trial and error, and I always say that, because even though I personally have a lot of knowledge about YouTube, I work with a lot of women creators, I manage several channels, I'm constantly learning, because each individual person, it's different for them. Like their success and what works for them is different. I mean, what works for you, Kiva, is different than another one that even does interior design, right? So yes, there's a general idea of what you have to do, like best practices, but when it comes to just like individual channels and the specific videos that do well, sometimes it's like, for some people, it's like, you know, those sit down videos might not perform as well as a DIY or as a shop with me or as some kind of vlog. And for others, a sit down video where you really can talk about specific topics or products, that performs better, right? So, you know, that's what I do love that about working with someone one-on-one. I mean, working one-on-one and the one-on-one coaching is the favorite thing I get to do, because we can really see things through and experiment and test. And, you know, and then I love it, like someone like you, that you're totally game. You're like, yeah, I'll try it. Let me try it. Let me see. And sometimes it flops. Actually, with your channel, you don't have a lot of flops, but you know, sometimes it doesn't work as well as, say, another video that goes viral. And I think that's an important lesson for everyone to take home, is like, there's not one size fits all when it comes to YouTube. And if things aren't working, it's to make sure that you experiment and you try things out. And then, you know, like you working with someone like me, you're able to experiment, but also get that feedback too of like, okay, let's pivot, let's try this, or let's now analyze the analytics. And
I think that's important, because I think that's something you really bring to the table, being able to analyze the analytics, because YouTube analytics, they're overwhelming, right? Because there's so much information to sift through, and looking at like those peaks in your videos, thinking about, oh, maybe that's from timestamps, or maybe this is something else, and really like getting into those nitty-gritty details, they really make a difference. But I think as a creator, just working by yourself, you're like, okay, I've done one video, I had to edit it, I had to film it, all of that stuff, I'm ready to move on. So I think having you to help with that, it really improves the entire situation. Yeah,
it's so interesting, because I have people that will come to me and work with me who've been on YouTube for years, right? And it's exactly that mentality, which is totally understandable, because creating content is so much work.
Yes.
You know, and so
it's a lot of work.
Yeah. And by the time you're done with it and you've uploaded it, exactly what you said, you're ready to move on. I mean, I've had people, that have like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, been doing it for years, and they're like, I don't even know how to begin looking at my analytics. So I do think you're right. It's just like, that's a big thing that I believe that every creator needs to be doing it. I mean, it's essential to be able to pivot and change and experiment, but sometimes you just don't have the time to do it, or it's just you don't even want to.
Yeah, for sure. An excellent example of that, yesterday, you caught me. There were like a bunch of videos I didn't even have the monetization on my YouTube channel. It was so many of them, and if it hadn't been for you, I would have just kept going. So having you there is really useful.
Yeah, I'm checking in and like, where's your end screen, Kiva? Where's this? You know?
Yes.
It's because there's so many things to remember. So when your channel took off, what did that look like for you?
I think for me, it was a little overwhelming, because I will say that I'm kind of an introvert. You know, I think on YouTube, I don't necessarily portray that, but in general, I kind of just like stick to myself. I like to just sit back and relax. So for me, it was kind of overwhelming having tons of people talking to me. I love it. I love being able to talk about design all the time, but I was like, ooh, this kind of feels weird to me, but in a good way.
What video was that for you? And what was going through your mind at the time? Like, was it a video that just all of a sudden went viral and it just blew your whole channel up, or what did that paint that picture for us?
Yeah, so the first video for me that really went viral is actually, I think, my second highest performing video, and it's called This Looks Cheap. And I tell you, things in your house that kind of make your house look cheap. It doesn't look as sophisticated. And making that video for me, there was a lot of anxiety there because it was like, who am I to tell people what looks cheap? But I think I was also excited about it because I was like, these are mistakes that I'm also making. And I think it was a real turning point for my channel because I was able to establish myself as an authority in interior design, but also to say, hey, like everyone who gets interior design help, we're real people. We all make mistakes. I'm making some of the mistakes I'm talking about right now. And that kind of, I think, blew up the channel because I think people found my content really accessible and they found me relatable. So not only did it get a lot of views, but I think it just really resonated with people that I'm a real person kind of giving advice. Yeah,
I remember that video. I remember and seeing it go viral. And then what happened for you after that?
So I think I was kind of like, well, what happens next? Because again, it was one of my first sit down videos. So I was like, should I keep doing this? Should I not? And I did. I kept making sit down videos, kind of trying to provide really practical advice for people who don't have tons of money, right? Because that's kind of the premise of my channel. So I just kind of kept going with it, and kind of tried to shift like how I portrayed myself and how I kind of communicated the information.
Yeah. What is the biggest piece of advice that you would give to someone who wants to see success on YouTube like you have?
Yeah, so might sound cliche, but I think just being very authentic is super important because there's no one like you, right? There are tons of people on YouTube making beauty content, making design content. There's already someone doing what you're doing, but maybe not in the way that you're doing it. And I think that provides so much value. So as long as you're authentic and you're nice or you're whatever you're like, I think it's going to really resonate with people.
Yeah, and if somebody's listening to this and is thinking about possibly enrolling in the bootcamp or one-on-one coaching, and they may be on the fence, what would you tell them?
I'd say 100% do it. I talk about Erika all the time. I'm telling you concretely, if I hadn't enrolled in bootcamp, I would have stopped. I would have gone to med school. I would be consulting because the confidence just wasn't there for me. I didn't have the tools to, analyze those analytics, upload regularly, create really clickable thumbnails. I just didn't have the tools there because there's so much information online, but no one has the information so beautifully laid out quite like you do.
Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh. I didn't know that you, if it wasn't for that, you'd be going to med school.
100%. That's where I'd be.
Oh my gosh. And the hundreds and thousands of people that love you and watch your videos wouldn't get the joy of being able to watch your videos twice a week.
Yes. So you've changed my life in the best way possible. I can't believe I never told you that before.
No, I didn't know that. Oh my gosh. I mean, you know how much I love your channel and your content. It really is really good. So let's shift gears now into the same questions that I ask everybody that comes onto the show. Are you ready for that?
Yes, I think I'm ready.
Okay. First question is, what is your number one struggle with YouTube?
My number one struggle with YouTube is, again, definitely the thumbnails. Yeah. I can make great content, but when it comes to thumbnails, I'm kind of lost and I'm like, what should I do here?
We do a lot of back and forth with the thumbnails.
We sure do.
But it's good though. I mean, you're good. You're good about, hey, Erika, what do you think? Or I'm like, Kiva, let's change your thumbnail or change it around. So that's what you have me for.
Yes.
What is your highest viewed video on your channel and how much did you make from it?
Yeah, so my highest viewed video is actually a short, and I didn't make very much from it because it's a short. I think I made about $56. It has over 1 million views. But my longest actual real YouTube video, long form video, is the This Looks Cheap video that we just talked about, and I made about $8,500.
And how many views does that one have?
That one has 694,000 views.
Nice. If you were to start over with your YouTube channel right now, what if anything would you do differently?
So I probably would have just started with interior design instead of starting with DIYs.
Yeah, that's right. I remember when first looking at your channel, when you first signed up, you had a ton of those DIY videos.
Yes.
What made you decide to go that route at the beginning?
So I think that's what I was just doing with my time. And I think it also has to do with income, right? Because my channel is all about affordable interior design. And I started my channel when I was in college and no one has money in college. So to get things to look nice, I had to DIY them.
Yeah. What is your favorite video that you've uploaded on your channel?
Oh, wow. Okay. I think actually it would be the This Looks Cheap video, just because I actually had fun, right? I did have a script, but I also was just kind of like making jokes and kind of being myself. I'm very dry. I think I resonate with a particular audience, but I just had fun, and it was nice to finally do that on YouTube.
And it's cool because it doesn't always happen that your most favorite video is actually one of your highest viewed.
Yeah, and I think that happened with time. When I uploaded it, I definitely wouldn't say it would have been my favorite video, but to date, it definitely is.
Why wasn't it when you first uploaded it?
Because I think I was a little bit sassy, right? And I think I didn't really want the judgment there because, again, I'm a perfectionist. I want to appeal to everyone. But that video definitely didn't appeal to everyone, but that's okay.
I remember, is that the video that you uploaded that it was like one of the first, or you were nervous about like the negative comments? Is that video?
Yes, for sure.
Oh, I remember that. You were like a little bit freaking out about like, oh, there's like negative comments. And I think it was like one of the first times where you really got that, right?
Yeah, it was one of the first times, but that's okay. I think everyone can have a difference in opinion, and I learned that from that video. Yeah.
How did you end up kind of being okay with those negative comments?
I think it was just kind of like, okay, like you can think that and I can think something else. And I think I also was like, I'm literally doing all these things. So if I'm attacking you, I'm also attacking myself. And that's actually what I said in the beginning of the video. So that definitely helped me with that. Yeah.
And I know you're saying, oh, like I was a little sassy, but you were actually not. Like, it was you were still very, very, like, nice about it. It wasn't even bad. I remember watching and be like, Kiva, like, I know there's a few negative, and here's the thing, too, this is a really important lesson. Like, a lot of people, especially when you're not used to getting, and most people are not used to getting negative comments, because until you get to a certain point, for the most part, things are pretty positive, but it's kind of like, I think you mentioned this earlier, it's like, you made it when you're starting to get some negative comments.
Yes.
Yeah. But a lot of people, I remember you had like hundreds and hundreds of really positive comments, and I was looking through, like digging through, like where are these negative comments, and there were some, but it was like maybe if that, maybe there were like 10, if that, and some of them weren't even that bad, and it's like those people have a tendency to, in their minds, fixate on a few negative when there's hundreds of positive.
For sure.
So
growing out of that, though.
No, I know, but it's something that is not unique to you. A lot of people experience it, and it's important to almost kind of go through that and go through all those emotions. Agree. Yeah. Any video that you created and uploaded on your channel that you were really excited about, but it didn't do that well?
Yeah, so I think I would actually say like an IKEA video we did recently. So I kind of created a video that was very similar to what I like to watch on YouTube. So it was a product-based video, but there wasn't any talking. It was very like ASMR-like and relaxing. And it wasn't that successful for my channel, but I still actually don't regret uploading it, which for me is kind of rare because, again, I'm a perfectionist. But I actually love making the video because it was nice to create something that I also enjoy watching. Because I think a lot of creators will say this, like, once you create the content, you don't even consume it anymore, right? Because you're inundated with it. So it was nice to try something new.
Yeah, and it was. And that video, I have to say, I thought was a really well done video. It was really good. But like you said, it didn't, and videos like that on YouTube have performed very well for other creators, and it's like, well, maybe your audience wants to hear you, because you mentioned it's like an ASMR video, just for those of you watching and listening. Kiva she wasn't there in front of the camera like she usually is. Yeah, no. She wasn't talking like she usually is. So then that, looking at the data and analyzing it, it's telling me that with Kiva's audience, it's like, okay, we know that Kiva, her audience wants to see her talking, or they want to hear her talking. So then, we're turning around and saying, okay, Kiva, let's try something different. Let's maybe do something like that video again, but do it a little bit different. So this time, let's add a voiceover. Still do something similar, but add a voiceover this time. So that's what's great, is that you can kind of test it and see. And just because it doesn't work out doesn't mean that a version of that won't actually work out on your channel.
Exactly.
So yeah, I know we talked about, I'm like, okay, I want you to do this again, like a different video, but let's do your voiceover. Let's try it differently. So what is the biggest opportunity you got as a result of your YouTube channel?
So the biggest opportunity, I was on the Tamron Hall show, which was a really big deal because I was able to be on like a national talk show and kind of talk about my craft. So that was super exciting. Yeah,
that's really, really cool. Did you, just out of curiosity, I don't think I saw anything actually, because I study your analytics like every day, but did you see any growth or anything from your channel from that?
Yeah, I gained about like 3,000 subscribers in a day, which for at that point in time, that was actually really huge growth because I think I had around 80,000 subscribers at that point.
That's amazing. And did you get any other opportunities from that opportunity, from being in such a large national platform?
Yeah, I think that's when I actually started really working with brands because again, with the confidence, I really wasn't working with brands when my channel was smaller, but from that opportunity, because I was able to get a lot closer to 100,000 subscribers, I started working with some of my favorite brands in the home arena.
Yeah, that's awesome. Why do you think people enjoy watching your videos?
I think my content is relatable. You know, it's a hard world, right? And even if you have lots of money, maybe you don't have a ton of money to put towards your home because you have school, you have food, you have other priorities. But I believe that everyone deserves a beautiful home regardless of their budget. And I firmly believe that a lot of people don't feel that way. So I think that resonates really deeply. And
I think for you, one thing that I love about you and your content, and this is something that, you know, we really focus on inside the boot camp and then work on that even more in the coaching is, you know, your mission, which you've said several times during this interview. And, you know, I saw it come through from day one. Like, it's just been this passion of yours, and I love it. And I think people, even though you don't necessarily say it in every video, there's hints of it everywhere, you know, and your story, and I don't know if you want to share it just really briefly about.
Sure.
Yeah, how about like your, you know, living with your grandmother, share that. And I love that. And I think it really resonates on your channel.
So I actually was raised by my grandmother just because my parents weren't in the picture, and we had a very beautiful home. But it actually turns out, and she hid this from me very well, we didn't have any money. We actually grew up really, really super poor, but she worked really hard to put me into good schools and all of that good stuff. But I had the most beautiful home on the planet because my grandmother's an artist, and I always felt like we felt rich, or at least that's how our space looked, because she was so creative. And I think from there I learned it doesn't really matter if you have money. Money doesn't buy taste, right? It's all about your creativity and stuff like that. So I learned that from a very early age, and I applied that even as I had more money and stuff like that, because I wanted to be creative and I wanted to craft a space that felt like home.
And you guys, that's what YouTube is all about. YouTube is about taking something that you're so passionate about, and it's so much a mission in your life. Something like that is so beautiful, and to say, I want to share this with the world. Like, everyone deserves a beautiful home, even if you don't have any money. And it's such a beautiful mission, and your whole channel and now your whole career is revolving around that mission 100%. That you're so aligned with.
Yeah, I'm so fortunate that I get to do that. I just felt like interior design was so inaccessible. And I was like, if you have $1 million, then your house can look good. Okay, well, what if I don't have $1 million? I have to wait until I'm 50 and I have a big break to have a really nice house. That just like isn't right. And I think feeling at home is so crucial to being successful in every facet of life. So I'm really glad that I get to help with that.
I am really glad that you do too. And I am glad that you did not go to medical school.
Thank you, me too.
And that you got to just bless the world with your talent and your content, because it's so beautiful. So last question is, what is your superpower that has led to your success?
I think my superpower is that I can talk. I am a talker, and I think that people like hearing what I have to say, and I think my voice is pretty okay, and I think that I can make really dense information accessible. And again, if you're not in a particular category, if you don't know the terminology, you're just like, I'm not going to learn about that. But I'm, again, all about making things accessible, not only in terms of, you know, financially, but also just in terms of the words used, and I think that really helps.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, Kiva, if anybody is not aware of your channel and they're listening to you and like, I got to go check her out, where can people find you?
So you can find me on YouTube. My channel name is DIY with KB, and we talk about all things interior design and DIY.
So I will have all her information linked in the description and the show notes. So definitely make sure you check out Kiva and show her some love. Thanks so much,
Amazing.
Kiva.
Thank you so much, Erika. Everyone join the boot camp. You won't regret it.
You're amazing. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed that interview and you learned a lot from it. Now, if you have a YouTube channel or considering starting a YouTube channel that you're serious about growing and you want the best of the best when it comes to personalized feedback, advice, and up-to-the-minute YouTube strategy, then consider my Zero to Influence YouTube Bootcamp for women. I have been running this bootcamp since 2018, and we have hundreds upon hundreds of very successful students that have gone through the program. And I can go on and on about the YouTube Bootcamp, but I want you to hear it directly from some of the women themselves.
I feel so lucky that I got to do Erika's bootcamp.
Before I joined the bootcamp,
Before joining Erika's bootcamp,
my channel was all over the place. I didn't know what I was talking about.
I would hear people say that I need to find my why and my voice and my audience and understand my target audience, but I never felt like I really understood what that meant.
Erika helped me come up with YouTube video ideas. She helps me with consistency. She helps me to interpret my analytics.
I started with 12,000 subscribers and now I have over 50,000 and it is growing rapidly.
My channel has grown almost 100,000 subscribers.
I definitely wouldn't have gotten to this place in such a short amount of time without Erika's bootcamp.
What makes Erika special is that she has been talking to and analyzing YouTube channels for years, and that has given her this bank of knowledge to pull from.
I'm constantly asking her questions about YouTube. I'm asking her advice about my YouTube channel.
Taking the Zero to Influence YouTube Bootcamp was one of the best
decision I could have ever made for myself, for my channel, for my own personal growth as a human being. I could not be happier.
I love that it has reinvigorated me in such a beautiful way. So I am so happy that I've joined.
You're crazy not to hire her. Get on it. All right.